Moving on, so defining a function. So how am I defining a function here? So I have a function called f, which will be using the f assignment variable function, and I'm creating passing four arguments into the function a, and b equal to 1, c equal to 2, and d equal to null. I'm assigning the values b equal to 1, c equal to 2, and d equal to null inside the arguments itself. So when they get passed into the function, they will have the default values b equal to 1, c equal to 2, and d equal to null. So in addition to not specifying a default value, you can also set an argument value to null, which will automatically initialize argument that is passed into the function as null. So lazy evaluation. Arguments to functions are evaluated lazily, so they are evaluated only as needed. So if you are not using an argument that is passed into the function, it will never get evaluated because it is not needed to be evaluated. So if I'm creating a function which passes a comma b, and the function does just a square, and this function, when you're passing the variable f of 2, this function never actually uses the argument b. So calling f of 2 will not produce an error because the 2 gets smashed by the position, nothing else. And here the result will be, if you're calling f of 2, it will be 2 square, the answer will be returned as 4. But the value b, the argument b, is not used in the function, so hence there will not be any error when you are using f of 2. Another example is like f function a comma b, print a comma b. So if I'm passing f of 45, and this will give you a error in print b. So we'll see this, we'll start evaluating in the our module. So I'm creating a function f which will have function of a comma b. So this plus means you are going to the next line of the function. Here I'm printing a, print b, and I'm closing the bracket. Now the function is complete. So if I call f of 45, what happens? Argument b is missing with no default, which means the function is supposed to have two arguments a comma b, and I have called 45. Earlier we saw an example where the value b was not used inside the function. For example, here we have used print of b, but the function doesn't have the second argument. So this will give you a argument is missing error. So, and as you can see, there is the value 45 that gets printed because it goes sequential. So it prints the function. It doesn't check for the arguments first. The first thing that happens is the printing of the variable a, and then goes to the next. And when it checks for the print variable b, it notices that the argument is missing, and it gives an error. So this is what is called lazy evaluation. Like whenever it is needed, it will done. So once the function tried to evaluate print b, it had to throw an error. Again, this argument triple dot, it's called an ellipsis, indicate a variable number of arguments that are used to pass to other functions. Is often used when extending another function and you don't want to copy the entire argument list of the original function. So yeah, here you have a function called myplot, which has the arguments x comma y, type equal to L, and other arguments as well. Plot of x comma y, type equal to type comma other arguments. So generic functions use this triple dot as arguments, so that extra arguments can be passed to methods. For example, mean function of x comma etc etc etc. So use method of mean. That's it. Again, this argument is also necessary when the number of arguments passed to the function cannot be known in advance. For example, there are multiple functions in R programming like which you can use for your regular day-to-day use, and those functions you don't have to know all the arguments that are available in the function. Instead, you can just use that triple dot uh, args of paste function of triple dot comma separation equal to null, collapse equal to null, and this can be used to identify to pass the arguments when you don't know what are the arguments that are passed. Okay, the same example is given the next. So the arguments coming after this triple dot. One catch with triple dot is that any arguments that appear after this on the argument list must be named explicitly and cannot be partially matched. So there was partial matching I mentioned earlier when the arguments are matching, but here you cannot use this partial matching especially when you are using triple dot and followed by especially for example here is a function of this dot 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 comma SCP equal to, you are assigning the names SCP equal to nothing and collapse equal to null. So again paste of a comma b separate equal to separator equal to colon, so it give you a is to b. The same way again separator equal to b, so it proceeds on with this function. So you should be very careful when you are using this double dot, because when you're passing multiple arguments after this dot 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 symbol, you will find that the function will look for variables that have the names that get exactly matched. So with this we conclude functions in our programming.